guys, and welcome to my video. This is kind of weird. I've thought of this concept since like July, and originally it wasn't planned to be a Halloween special, but it just turned out that way. So that's what it's been sort of turned into when I started recording. I'm like, let's make this for Halloween. I've been editing it for a really long time. A lot of this stuff was geared towards when I was younger, and when I was younger, I was not open to a lot of horror things, so a lot of this stuff might seem stupid, but to me, like, younger than the age of 12, I wasn't really open to anything that wasn't over PG or E, so when I did come across it, it really scarred me, and that's basically what this list is going through, all the things that shocked me in my semi-sheltered childhood. Whatever you believe, if that's a good or bad thing, this is my list of stuff that scarred me.
Halloween! Where's my hat? I lost my hat! No, it's over there! I guess we'll have to continue without it because I'm stuck here now. So, Halloween. Halloween is a random holiday where we dress up as very random things, and I lost my hat, so I guess I can't participate in Halloween, and I'm stuck here playing games that scared or scarred me when I was, well, just from whenever. This is limited to 15 games. The only rules are really just each game. It's top 15 games that scared me, so it can be multiple things inside those games, but it only counts as, one on the top 15 things, top 15 games, if that makes any sense. If I have multiple things that scared me in a game, that game only gets on the list once, so anything encompassing in that game is what scared me. Yeah. So I hope you enjoy my list, and also I hope you guys have a safe and happy Halloween, and get tons of candy, because that's what Halloween's all about, candy. Nothing else. Candy. Give me candy.
At number 15 is Jak and Daxter and the Precursor Legacy. Now, I did a playthrough of this, and you guys might know as this being one of my probably top 10 favorite video games if I didn't have to choose one out of a series, because I adore this game. This is a game I grew up with, and you might be wondering, well, how did it scar you in certain ways? Well, it scared me in places because it sets such a great atmosphere in different places, and from the Forbidden Jungle, when you go into the Forbidden Jungle, there's some pretty creepy moments when you're back there, especially with the creepy music and just like the sounds of things rocking back and forth. But then you start looking out and you're seeing back to Misty Island, where Jak and Daxter went to, and later you learn how to get over there. And I remember trying to swim over to Misty Island, which, of course, me trying to swim over to a really creepy place isn't really smart in the first place, but any person who played Jak and Daxter before they were probably 6 remembers the terrifying moment when they encountered, you can't swim to Misty Island because now that sound effect is embedded into the child's mind of anyone who's played this, just like instant terror as soon as you start hearing that. It's like people who grew up on Sonic and the Sonic drowning noise. That's the kind of pressure this thing induced on me. It just scarred us from ever wanting to go into the water, even going into the water around this Precursor thing where you can buy power cells. We didn't even want to fall into that water because we were afraid a shark was going to come up. And I swear, once when I was 7 though, I managed to make it over to Misty Island without getting eaten by like some sort of jumping tactic, but I've never been able to replicate it, and it could have just been a dream. Now, when you do finally get over to Misty Island, it does have a really creepy atmosphere, and I remember just getting scared over there, especially by those stupid monsters in like a tar pit thing, like in a mud pit. There's like a monster in there, but I don't remember getting too worked up over there. I think what usually happened is I arrived over there and then I instantly went back because I was just too scared. Because, as you'll be able to tell by this list, I get really scared really easily. Now, number 14 on this list is a game that I originally only played at my friend's house, or at my parents' friend's house, and their daughter let me play their PlayStation 2, and she had, or they had at least, Kingdom Hearts. Now, I always was intrigued with Kingdom Hearts. I never actually knew that it was mixed up with Final Fantasy characters till like 2 years ago or so, and I finally got Kingdom Hearts when I was 14 or 13, like actually owned it, but the only time I really played it was over at their house. And I always had to replay it, obviously, because I didn't have a memory card, and I always would replay that intro. In the intro, there's so much going on in that intro, and it has so much nostalgia for me, but like the beginning really like freaks you out with this big monster heartless dude, and it like, I think it turns out to look like yourself, and I remember that really freaking me out, obviously. And then you go to the main island, which this is where it sort of ruins the story for me, because, slight spoiler here, this is still back at the intro, the island gets destroyed by the Heartless, and after that, the story just, I have never been able to comprehend it. I always thought, oh, I'll be able to go back there because I loved running around that. Like, I love running around the original village you show up in Jak and Daxter. I want to go back to that island and I want to explore. But you never get to go back to that island as far as I can tell. I haven't been in the game yet. I've gotten stuck at, like, some boss on the, Aladdin thing, like, back when I was 14 or 15, so haven't beat the game yet, but that was enough to scar me. Any dark creature now just terrifies me. Shadows. Maybe that's why I'm afraid of the dark.
No matter where I go or what I see, I know I can always come back here. Right?
Yeah, of course.
That's good. Sora, don't ever change.
Huh?
Number 13, Area 51. Now, Area 51, I didn't get much footage of because the light gun completely destroys my PVR, apparently. But, or, confuses it. My PVR is okay. But, it's a light gun game that I would play at Jodo's, which is a pizza place. And, it takes coins and stuff, and that's a really fun light gun game. If you can get a light gun that works with it. I've bought in so many light guns, and they don't really, none of them work the way they're supposed to on this game. Not even the Namco one. Anyways, this game, it scarred me in a way that sort of helped me overcome playing sort of horror-based arcade games, because I remember being really scared about it. I always persevered through it because I really liked the game. Same thing with, I actually used to play Metal Slug 4 or 2 at this same Jodo's, and I remember at first I felt like really weird about all the blood in the game, but it sort of like just eluded me, like it went over my head, like I didn't even really think about it. And back then I was really like scared of T-rated games, and I was going to rent it at Blockbuster, and my parents didn't let me because it was rated T. But anyways, yeah, I guess this just sums up general games that I used to play, arcade games that scared me and sort of helped me overcome getting scared. Only it didn't help me overcome getting scared on console games or anything else, just in arcades for some reason. Number 12 is the original Spider-Man. Or I guess it's the original one. It's a one I used to play a lot on the PlayStation 2, and I love this game. And every time people talked about really good Spider-Man games, I always thought they were referring to this one. Apparently there's one that is made by the same people, and it's like Spider-Man 3 or something. And that is apparently a really good game, but this was a game I used to rent at Blockbuster 2. And I always really liked it. And then we ended up buying it when I was probably like 6. There's my phone going. And I got past the intro, the intro tutorial, which I always found really funny. I always laughed at this dude.
I'm gonna grab a ham sandwich. Whenever you're done beating bad guys up, follow your compass and height meter. Okay, so here you are on the side of a building. Now don't say I never did anything for you. Oh, too much mustard.
And I loved exploring the city and swinging around as Spider-Man in his actually cool uniform with jeans. That I didn't get footage of, but you're basically swinging around the city. But then after that, you have to find Uncle Ben's killer. And once you go into those claustrophobic areas, it gets really spooky for mini-me. I haven't even played to that point probably since I was 12. But I just remember that sort of, it scarred me to the point where I didn't want to continue in that game. A lot of these games, like, I always have that same mental reflex of, oh, don't go there, it's scary. But now when I actually go there, it doesn't affect me at all, really, because these games weren't even made to be scary. As we get further down the list, you'll see some of these games were made to be slightly atmospheric in a scary sense, and those games scarred me to the point where it even freaks me out today. Number 11 is Monster House for the Game Boy Advance. Now, this was sort of, I don't even know who it was directed towards. This game is based off the movie that I never watched. I still don't know actually why I bought this, because I was too scared to watch the movie. I never really liked those cartoon sort of directed towards kids movies that were yet like seemingly trying to be scary. It just didn't really appeal to me, especially as a kid who got scared really easily. And I still haven't seen the movie, but this game even managed to scare me. This was sort of because jump scares. Nothing really pops out at you, but just the sound effects and the first monster you find, I guess. You'll see when I show you this footage, the first monsters you see, they sort of just come at you, and it scared me to the point where I'm just like, why am I even playing this game? And it didn't really have a story in a sense that wanted me to continue. I really thought, like, oh, these kids are just stupid. Why would they go in the house? And it didn't really give a great story in the game, so I didn't play it. It's probably a really thought out game because it looks like it has a lot there. It's just, I've never found it appealing, and it sort of scarred me when I was 10 or whenever it came out. Number 10 is another Game Boy Advance game, only this one is definitely taking a step up from all those other E-games, Max Payne. Now, I don't know how I got a hold of this game when I was so young, because I wasn't allowed to play even T games till I was really 9, and I wasn't allowed to own them until I think I was 11. So this was definitely something that just scarred me in the very obvious sense of it was just way too of a violent thing for me at the time. I had never seen really this much blood or this scary of a story, and it just sunk into my brain and gave me a really bad feeling in my heart, and it has kept me from playing the game even today. Other stuff in the game that probably would have freaked me out back then wouldn't bother me now, but it's just, you know, the initial thought of, oh, let's play Max Payne, that doesn't appear in my mind because my mind has essentially wanted me to stay as far away from that name and the imagery at the beginning as possible. The first thing that hit me was the story, even in this very basic form. And the main thing that hit me was the blood everywhere, and it wasn't that controllable of a game on the Game Boy, so I gave up. And I never knew if he avenged his family. I don't think he does, because, like, there's 3 games in the series, but yeah, that definitely just shocked me as a child. Now, this is something I've talked about before. Number 9 goes to Skyrim. Now, some of you might guess, oh yeah, that's kind of scary at some points, but how did it scar you? And especially since that came out more recently. Most of these games came out when I was younger, so how did this scar me when I played it at the age I played it? Well, at the time, I didn't know much about Skyrim, and again, I hadn't played many horror games because I never played too many horror games. So I thought it was going to be what it was basically at the beginning of the game, except for the guy being shot in the back with an arrow. That was kind of shocking. But what really got to me was, I've never learned how to pronounce these names in like correct English, but Bleak Falls Barrow or something. It was the first place you get to go into, and you go into like a cave, and it was alright at first, but then I started getting really freaked out, because something that scarred me when I was younger was maze-like scary things, and you'll see that later on this list. And this sort of reminded me of going through mazes, and I was always afraid of something popping out at me. It wasn't really of being scared or being scared that it was going to kill me. It was a jump scare type thing where I was always anticipating something, and the music is definitely very atmospheric in Skyrim, and it just got to me where I never wanted to go back into those cave things ever again, and I've always avoided them like the plague. So now I have like all this stuff from things I had to force myself to do from the story, and I just leveled up and found all the awesome gear that I was willing to find. And I really haven't played Skyrim since, because I got all the stuff that I really want, and I've beaten the story, so don't really care about too much else.
Time to end this little game. Just die!
Now back to the random crap. Number 8 is ScoobyDoo Night of 100 Frights.
Sushi!
So this was a game me and my cousin used to play a lot, and I've thought about doing a review with him. This cousin of mine is MT Show 100, or Death Games. I forget which channel name he uses now, but link somewhere. It's always popping up on my channel. But we used to play this game all the time, and actually recently we played for hours because we never beat it. And when I played this by myself, I always got scared to death because it was just a very creepy kind of atmosphere and thought of Scooby-Doo basically being abandoned, and his friend just goes missing, and that sort of loneliness got to me, I guess. And I never wanted to go through spookier parts of the game where there's like fog and stuff to unlock stuff without Michael or having another one of my friends to play the game with me. Nowadays I'm completely over it, but when I first played it, it was sort of like another one of my introductions to horror, especially with that first jump scare.
What, you thought I was going to stay in that uncomfortable shirt? Now I had to change into comfy clothes for playing these terrifying games. I also need like freaking buttload of chocolate and a cat to help me survive all this. I mean, Scooby-Doo's like the most terrifying game ever, sorry. And now he's standing on my computer. So let's just continue with this before he turns everything off.
Number 7 at least makes more sense. Medal of Honor Rising Sun. Now again, these games aren't all about getting scared. It's sort of games that scarred me in a negative way. So in Medal of Honor Rising Sun was actually one of the first T games I ever played, and one of the first T games that involved guns that I ever played. And it's the only T game I can remember playing. That's a lot of saying playing a lot. So what really got to me was when you play this game on single player, I think it's only on the single player, and there's scenes that they sort of cut out of 2-player, I'm guessing to save speed or something, that are much more violent and graphic than when you're playing it on 2-player. And when we were going through this story, it just shocked me, sort of like when I first played Max Payne. There's a scene where a dude gets taken out by a crocodile, and then you have this scene of people getting shot under the water, and that was just one of the things that really scarred me and imprinted on my mind, that person getting shot while just trying to swim up on the water, because things like that are in video games and in movies always get to me. And it's just sort of the fact of that person was harmless, he was just trying to innocently swim up or just trying to innocently do something, and you just freaking killed him. And that just really gets to me, and I think that was one of the first cases of that ever, sort of me ever viewing that, and it definitely has always shocked me, that kind of stuff. Even in comedies, like when they try to say, oh, this person's so innocent, oh, and then they kill it for some reason because they think that's funny. Morbid things aren't funny. Stop putting that in comedies. Right here, after defeating a bunch of Japanese who just bombed Pearl Harbor, which, by the way, this is freaking creepy.
Escort. I say again, we need an escort. That's us.
At number 6 is Minecraft. I have also talked about this along with Skyrim. Minecraft sort of scares me for the same reason Skyrim scares me. Going into a tunnel where all the happy music cuts off, all you hear is groans, sometimes you hear this weird noise. It's just very scary at the certain times when it's pitch black, or you're low on tools, or you have something really cool and you don't know if a skeleton's going to come out of nowhere and start shooting you with arrows. It definitely can be scary at times in a way, and it scarred me, not in a way that affected my gameplay at any other games, but really just in Minecraft, where I never want to go into caves, and as soon as I hear like a groan of a zombie, I am out of there. But yeah, that was a thing, and that's why I get scared in Minecraft. It's just, there's so many creepy things in it that you wouldn't expect, and it makes me never want to go out at night. Actually, one thing that scared me is creepers. Now, you'll see me getting blown up by a creeper in this footage here. But creepers, the first time I saw them and it killed me, you know, it like shocked me into reality that I needed to defend myself from creepers. Well, first, I surrounded my house in cobblestone after I built it, because I thought that would help protect my house. Because the first time I built my house, one of the walls was blown up by a creeper, and then I was like, I'm going to build like a cage around my house. And I remember looking up on Minecraft Wiki, what are the only blocks creepers can't destroy? And that was my quest for obsidian. For weeks, I tried to get obsidian, and I never could. I never could find diamond. I have such a confusing network of caves, and I never could find diamond. And I've still gone back to that save file, and I only have like 4 diamonds. I don't know what is up with that save file. I've spent hours and hours and hours on it, and there's hardly any diamond. It must be something with the old update. Maybe hardly any diamonds spawned back then, but yeah. I need a diamond pickaxe to mine obsidian, and I don't have much obsidian, so my creeper fort is still being built. Next is Call of Duty Zombies. Now, back in the day, we used to have this thing called an iPod. I know all you kids now just skip to the iPhones, but remember those iPod touches that are sort of next to the iPhones? Well, they were slightly smaller, and the 3rd gen and the 4th gen was where it's at. I have not seen any kids playing with an iPhone or an iPod 5 or 6, but those iPod 4s are still everywhere, and my friend was one of the first people to get an iPod 3rd gen, and he one day got the very first World at War Zombies on it. I remember we all thought it was cool. He let me play it when we went on like field trips and stuff. This person I'm talking about is Nick, and Susie13, I think is his username. He's not active on that channel anymore. I'm not sure if he's active on any channel anymore. But he used to let me play that. And I remember getting so scared, but loving that game at the same time. Just that Zombies, I feel like, was the scariest Zombies. The eyes that glowed and the noises they made, and just the overall helplessness of the situation really got to me, and I feel like that wasn't replicated properly in the next Zombies in Black Ops. And I did get Black Ops, and one day I did go back to World at War, which is whacked my headphones. Number 4 is Call of Duty World at War. It's a separate game, so I'm counting it. In Call of Duty World at War, that was like the goriest Call of Duty, and I played this when on one of the game days I had at my old Taekwondo. Our master person had a bunch of video games in the back room, like video game consoles, and we would have game nights. I remember playing Call of Duties and really enjoying myself. I was like 12 at the time. I played Call of Duty World at War. I was playing the campaign, and that game got to me. Well, first off, one thing that always permanently scarred me was all of the excessive blood, especially in this first scene, which I will give you a warning because it still creeps me out to the day. There is blood and death right here. Now, if that wasn't enough, there's all these scenes of just the crazy tactics the Japanese would use during these World War II fights, battles, whatever you want to call them.
What the hell? Who took these guys out? Radio command. Find out if another unit came in ahead of us. Ambush! Boom! Boom!
That game was so gory that Treyarch didn't even put into Black Ops. Like, if you shot someone, we would do this on multiplayer because after that we became like psychopaths. We would shoot each other and see how brutal we could kill each other. And I remember, depending on the rifle, you could like shoot someone open and see their rib cage, and you could blow people's arms off and stuff. And that stuff was semi-replicated in Black Ops, but it was never as brutal as World at War. And I think they started toning it down since then, because they realized more and more like 12-year-olds are playing Call of Duty, and we need to make it more of like a half and half TM game. Have all the funny, naughty, crappy stuff of M games and have basically the gore of T games or something like that. Yeah, that game got to me. Call of Duty World at War Final Fronts is a freaking perfect game though, and I did a playthrough on that on my channel, so if you're interested in the PS2 counterpart of World at War, go check that out. And if you don't think I should be able to use World at War for number 4, there is a game that I wanted to add in here, but I couldn't find any footage of it. So 4.5 is Bioshock. Now this is Bioshock on the flip phone. I have no footage of this, so I'll keep rolling the Call of Duty stuff. I used to have a flip phone, and then I got a track phone. This phone had a touchscreen, and you never could use anything, and it let you download, you know, the generic freaking $10 flip phone games, because those games used to be really expensive to have a game on your, you know, your phone, because back then phones weren't really huge media devices. And I got Bioshock on a phone. This was like, it was like 32-bit PS1 graphics playing Bioshock, and I really wish they ported that on PS1. That would be really cool. But I didn't know anything about Bioshock. I just remember people saying it was a popular, fun game. So I got Bioshock. I'm like 12 again. All this crazy stuff happened to me when I was 12. But you move forwards up into a lighthouse, and I remember just being really creeped out. And then you come up these stairs, and there's like this person behind a glass wall or something who gets shanked from the behind with like this person who's like mutated with a hook for her hand. And that was enough to freak me out, and I deleted the game and never played it again. And I couldn't re-download it without paying, you know, another $8, because back then they had no way of tracking that crap. And now I can't buy it again to show you any footage because I can't hook up to the internet on these old flip phones without hooking them up, and who even knows if those old Verizon stores are open. So yeah, that was a game that really freaked me out. It would be really interesting to show you though that Bioshock port of like 32-bit graphics. The more I think about it, the more cool I think it is, but that game, I could never even play through it on a flip phone, or on a track phone. Whatever version you want to call it. Number 3 is another game I learned about from my Taekwondo. I think it's pronounced Tenchu. I've never heard it out loud. It doesn't sound like it should be pronounced that. It was like a ninja game for the PlayStation 1, which got many like sequels and stuff. This game, however, freaked me out because it was so gory. I never wanted to buy this game until recently, because I'm like, I need to figure out what was the appeal of this game now that I've been able to sort of get over blood. But yeah, I was right. I came home and told my mom, these deaths that in this game, it like when they died, it sounded like their blood was just pouring out of them like a garden hose. And now that I've replayed this game, I can guarantee you the sound effects does sound like the blood is pouring out of them like a garden hose. And I'm wandering around this village trying to find someone to kill stealthily, but here you go. I finally found someone. I just jumped down and started fighting. And yeah, it's not 11, 12-year-old friendly, at least for back in the day, before 11, 12-year-olds got cell phones and saw even worse crap than that. Number 2, here we're getting to the really scary stuff, you know it. Uncharted. You might think, what? And I love Uncharted. I love Naughty Dog. I don't like all their decisions. Recently I've gotten upset at them, but I really love Uncharted. Uncharted is a great series so far. I'm really looking forward to Uncharted 4. I hope it doesn't disappoint. They've never really disappointed on their primary games, so looking forward to it. The reason why this scarred me is because after you play this game, which by the way I stopped for months after you think, actually this is kind of a spoiler, I stopped for months after you think someone is killed because that was just another one of those situations like the guy being shot underwater. I thought it was unfair and it was really sad. And then you get to the very end. You go through this game, which is generally, it did freak me out a few times, and goriness and like people being stabbed through ground spikes and all of this crazy stuff, which wasn't really brought back up in Uncharted 2 or 3. It wasn't as gory, it seemed like, as the first Uncharted, or dirty looking. But at the end, this is what really freaked me out. You go into an abandoned German thingy and you find like these zombie creatures. Again, 12-year-old me being subject to running around very dark places, very horror-esque, and being chased down by these zombie things really freaked me out. And I stopped playing the game for probably half a year, and I really wanted to learn about the ending of this game, but I just could not. This was way too much for me to handle. Just going around the corners and not knowing what to expect, and then when I saw someone I would shoot like crazy. It was sort of like, this sort of would have been a good introduction for me if I was going to get into horror games, and like for me to play this when I was like 5, but no, this was when I was 12 and never had really played too many horror games except for these pitiful excuses of scary things that scarred me on this list. And number 1, possibly the scariest game I have ever encountered. Land Before Time, Math Adventure. Yeah, I know, right? Bet none of you guessed that. Now, a few people, I believe, have been scared by this game, but it's a PC game in a time when PC gaming wasn't as huge as it is now. This is a math and sort of logic learning game that was released for Windows and Mac, and I would play it on our G4 Mac. However, when I tried to plug it into our G4 Mac, which I still have next to me, it said I couldn't play it because it didn't have the classic collection file or something, and I couldn't find anywhere to download it.
You do not have a version of OS 9 installed that supports classic. Install OS 9.1 or later for more information about installing the support. We used to run it on here. Did the Apple people like delete it off when we gave them our computer years ago?
So when I plugged it into my laptop, it said this. However, I did manage to find a few quick clips of what did scare me. There are pretty basic stuff on this thing, like a color book and some stupid flipbook thing, and it's very nostalgic looking back on this footage. However, what scared me, and I never played after the first 2 times I probably played it, was this game where you play as the... I don't even know her name, but she was like the jerk of the Land Before Time group, I think. Or the person who got angry a lot. I'm not sure. But, you play as her, like, walking around... At least I think it was her. Oh god, now I have no idea. But anyways, you play as a dinosaur, and you're walking through a maze. Again, this is back to me with the maze thing. You walk through a maze, and all you get is this warning.
But watch out for Sharptooth. If he finds you, you'll drop all your items and have to start over.
Now imagine being 3 and you're warned that one of the big scary T-Rex things from the TV show is lurking in this maze, and you're just supposed to wander around this maze trying to find stuff. And I still don't know if there was a pattern to it, but just this pops out at you.
What? Scared? Yeah, right. I just like to play my Game Boy in forts all the time. Now bring me some candy.